Hey guys, this is Z from Simple Baduk, and today we're going to take a look at 4 core principles of Fuseki. Actually, there are 8 of them, but today we're going to do a condensed mini version of it. If you want to check out the full version, then you can definitely check out our website for our Kyu Dan System. In this video, we're going to take a look at 5 core principles of Fuseki, and the first one is going to be urgent move is the Bei. Let's take a look at the board. So the first kind of urgent move is, if you look at this bottom right corner, with one move, black is going to get a huge corner. So white spending another move to finish the joseki is a very urgent thing in this case. The same goes to this bottom left corner too. In this joseki, black definitely owes another move over here. So black playing another move is pretty urgent over here. But if black doesn't play here, white pincering these stones is also an urgent move. And why is an urgent move so important? Because when you pincer it, black has no base anymore. Although it's not going to die immediately, black has to start running. When black is running, white gets to make some points, and still black has to keep running. From here, if you look at this situation, while black is making absolutely no points, white made some points. With that in mind, if you look at this right side of the board, white really should have played this 2-space extension to have a base. But white plays away, then black could pincer the stone. Then, first of all, black is getting some points over here, and while white is running, black gets to jump up and start to form a moyo on top right side of the board. When white plays this, black can pull back and solidify this part of the board, and again, white still needs to jump because with one move over here, white could get cut, so white spends another move and black jumps one more time to grow this moyo even bigger. This is a great example of why urgent move is so big. The move itself might not be that big. It gets you this amount of the board. But as the game proceeds, since black played this urgent move, for the next few moves, black get to continue attacking, and by attacking, black can get profits here and there. That is why urgent move is so big. And the next kind of urgent move is, if you look at the top left corner, is white playing something over here or black defending. If black defends, that's fine, but if black ignores it, then white is going to split black into 2 groups. Then white gets to start attacking black. Even if black doesn't die, because white has stone over here, white invading over here now is possible and easy and pretty severe for black. So in this case, by playing one urgent move, it created another invasion point. And this invasion point also creates another floating group, which means if black ignores this urgent move, then white is going to split. When black is running, white can attack a few times and again invade and create another floating group. This way, white gets to attack and destroy everything black has, and there is always a chance of something dying. So here's how to identify urgent move. If your opponent didn't finish a joseki, then you finishing this joseki for your opponent, then that's pretty urgent. When you can use a single move to kill something and get a lot of points, then that is also an urgent move. And last but not least, if you can use a single move to split a group into 2 floating groups, that is also considered as an urgent move. The second core knowledge is to be able to identify the board situation to use the right joseki that matches the situation. And in order to use the right joseki, you have to be able to identify different kinds of josekis. Let's use this classic joseki to show you 3 different kinds of josekis out there. First of all, if white plays this one, this is balance-oriented territory joseki. So both players get whatever they deserve, territory-wise. When black slides into the corner, if white wants influence, white can play this one, black can take the corner, white can play this and this. Although black gets to take the full corner, white gets the full outside influence. You can choose to use this kind of joseki when you have some stones outside. Let's say you have something like this, then this would be a great choice. And the third kind joseki would be the breaking the board oriented joseki. Means your goal is to break up the board. In this instance, you don't even have to answer, you can immediately play a way to start to break up the board. If black plays this one, then you can use this 2-spacer to settle this group. The idea of this breaking the board oriented kind of joseki is to get a sente. Now let's take a look at another example. From here, black approaches this top left corner. If you are white, where would you play? In this case, you should definitely choose this pincer because you have an influence over here and you have to choose influence oriented joseki, hoping black will go into the corner and allow you to have this influence outside to work with this influence. Although black got these two corners, but white can use this huge moyo to try to get more points than whatever black has over here. Now let's take a look at another example. From here, white approaches this corner. Then, if you're black, where should you play? In this case, obviously pincering is not the answer. First of all, let's take a look at the board situation. If you look at the board situation, this is actually a middle game principle or middle game theory that we're going to talk about in the future. But this board situation is a classic territory-oriented middle game, which means both players have no hope of getting a huge moyo anywhere, which means black pincering and getting a moyo means very little to black. So we should consider get more points instead of stacking our influence, which means we should place something over here. In this case, we have a third line stone over here, so we should technically play this one. But because we have this peep that's very disgusting, so we are going to kick first and then play this one. And this fourth line move is working great with this third line move. And when white pulls back, there is a trick that never fails to work in Q games, which is throwing a stone over here. If white is a savage or a dumb player, white could play this one to fight black. But in Q games, there are literally nobody knows this move. When you play this invasion, everyone is going to answer you this way, then you can hane and connect up, and white is going to spend another move, which means you get to secure this corner with a sente. And on top of that, if there is any kind of ladder breaking out, then you can use a ladder breaker this way. And the next core knowledge is that play wide whenever you have no idea what to do. And when there are two equally wide sides out there, then play the one with better potential. If you didn't know about it, whoever has more sides of the board gets to decide the flow of the game. For example, we are playing a normal game, but black pulls out a 3-star opener, white plays this, black plays this one, white plays this, black plays this one. If you look at it, white is only working with one side over here. But on the other hand, black is working with 1, 2, 3 sides over here. Then black is going to control the flow of the game. And here is how. Since black has more sides, white has no choice but to invade. And black gets to initiate the attack, and whoever initiates the attack gets to control the flow of the game. For amateur players, attacking is much easier than defending. For professional players, attacking is much harder because everyone knows how to just stay alive. But for amateur players, it's difficult to know all the tactics on just surviving. So if you have to choose to be the attacker or the defender, always choose to be the attacker. If your attack fails, then it fails. You don't lose anything. But if you fail to defend, something dies. You lose the game. So it's always better to control the board by playing as many sides as you can and be the initiator of the attack. And another thing I hope you know is that sides are the foundations of moyo. Let's take a look at this one as an example. When white answers, black could play something over here or here. But some Q players, they kind of get greedy and they jump up, hoping all this turn into black's moyo. But that's just this person being delusional. Because black doesn't have a stone in this area, white invading over here is a very easy thing. White could play this one too. Or white could even play this one when black answers, white can play this one, and black still has to go back and add another move over here. If black gets greedy and start to grow a moyo this way, then white can first peep and do this, and this all of a sudden turned from kinda moyo into a floating group. It's a very, very sad situation for black. But if we build a solid foundation, it's basically like building a building. Whenever we are building a moyo, we have to have a solid foundation, and then from here we have to build up. If black doesn't have a solid foundation and forcefully grow a moyo over here, then all white has to do is throw a stone over here, then all this gets erased. So always remember, you have to have a foundation before you start building. And like I said, when in doubt, play the widest area. It literally means you just have to play the widest area you can find. If there happens to be equally wide areas out there, then choose whichever one has better potential. For example, black plays over here. Then if white answers, black pulls back. Now white has a few options, A, B, C, and D. First of all, we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines over here. Over here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 lines over here and 11 lines over here. Now this is immediately eliminated because this is too narrow. Now we have 11 and 11. Which one should we choose? Then we have to consider which one does our opponent want to play. If black gets to play something over here, then black gets to have a great moyo. Then white's priority would be preventing black from having a great moyo, which means white should play over here. If white plays this one, then black could play over here. When white pulls back, black can finish up this moyo. If white plays over here, then black is going to pincer. If white plays this one, then at the end, black has a sente and still finish up this moyo. And white jumping over here, we don't even consider it because at the end of the joseki, we can't even call it a joseki because black kind of has this side of the board and this side of the board, but on the other side, white has absolutely nothing. And we're not even sure if this influence is gonna be useful later on. So white playing something over here and here and here is not good, then we only have one option left, which is approaching this side of the board. So this is basically how you choose your moves during the early games. The next one I would like to share with you is immediately use or restrict thickness or influence. Let's take a look at this situation over here. Black invades into the corner, white plays this old joseki, and if you didn't know about this old joseki, you don't hane and connect up and offer this tiger's mouth to white. You are going to crawl one more time and play away. Now white has this great influence outside, but you have sente. Now your goal is to immediately restrict this influence by splitting over here. You don't really want to allow your opponent to grow something using this influence. You don't want to play over here and you play this, your opponent plays this one, and you go into this normal joseki fight, and at the end play this one. You get two corners, but your opponent has this great moyo going on. And this is the time to ask yourself, can you really destroy this moyo? If not, just throw a stone over here and restrict the possibility of your opponent getting a great moyo from the beginning. And let's say you are playing as white in this situation and your opponent plays something like this, then immediately use your moyo. So just use it. Don't play something like this, don't play something like this, and allow your opponent to split you. You are going to immediately use your thickness and influence to start building a moyo. And if you look at this one, although black took your corner, your possibility of getting a great moyo is far better than black's, just because you have this thickness over here. If you have watched our values of moves video, then you should know that when you are stacking influences outside like this, then you should be able to make at least 3 times more points than whatever your opponent got. In this case, your opponent got about 10 points, then you should be able to make 30 points outside using this influence. But as soon as your opponent splits you, there's no way you can make 30 points using this influence. Although you can use this kind of tactics to grow another moyo outside, but still, it's still very hard to make 30 points using this influence. And the last thing you have to know is that how disgusting second line moves can be. Second line moves can be very confusing and disgusting. Sometimes they can be very small, sometimes they can be very, very dangerous. There are 4 kinds of second line moves. First, purely endgame moves. Second, plus minus moves. 3, thick moves. And 4, sente moves. The order of the value is that 4 is bigger than 3, 3 is bigger than most extension moves, and that is bigger than 2, and 2 is bigger than 1. Let's take a look at this board situation. This one shows a few examples. First of all, let's take a look at top left corner. This is a purely endgame move. If black plays, then black is merely defending a few points. If white plays, white doesn't really gain anything. White is merely destroying a few points of blacks. That is a purely endgame move. And over here on the top right corner and over here on the bottom right corner, these are plus minus moves. Now, if black plays this second line move, black is gaining some points and also has a possibility of destroying some of white's points. If white plays that second line move, then white is gaining some points and also destroying some points. The same goes with over here too. If white extends down, white is gaining some points and white is destroying. There's a possibility of destroying some points over here. And if black plays this one, black is gaining some points and destroying some points. So in this situation, these 2 second line moves are definitely bigger than this second line move. And let's take a look at bottom left corner. If white plays this second line move, that is a sente, the biggest kind of second line move, because if black doesn't answer with this move, the corner dies. So black needs to answer it. If black answers, these 2 stones are isolated. White can try to attack these 2 stones and maybe even kill these 2 black stones. With that in mind, black playing a second line move over here is a very, very thick move. Although it's not a sente, first of all, it gets some points, and second of all, it connects everything to solidify this area of the board, and 3, it makes sure these 2 stones doesn't get attacked, and 4, it prevents white's sente over here. So this kind of second line moves are really, really big. So in this picture, this second line move for both players is huge and is bigger than these 2 second line moves. And these 2 second line moves are bigger than this second line move. I know it's difficult to immediately understand these concepts and adapt it to your real games, but if you want to improve your Go, then you can definitely try our Kyu Dan system, especially for free. You can use the code FREEMONTH to try our Kyu Dan system for free, and we have a tons of problems and lectures and courses in our Kyu Dan system. Each month we are uploading 8 lectures, and 4 of them are theory lectures and 4 of them are strategy lectures. Theory lectures are something like this, and strategy lectures are literally teaching you some strategies and tricks to win more games. And when you are using these strategies, if your opponent doesn't play according to your joseki or your plan, then you can always rely on your theories and principles to continue playing your game. This has been Z from Simple Baduk, and I hope to see you in Kyu Dan System.